But wait, I don't see that in MMA. You can't do that in a jiu-jitsu gym. That'll never work on the streets. You're absolutely right. You don't see it in the cage because it would probably get really boring if each fight only lasted about 3 seconds.
Today we're at home in Tennessee and the weather has no idea what it wants to do, but luckily David's going to be going over stop kicks for us.
All right, now so stop kicks. Stop kicks are one of my favorite things to pull off while I'm sparring. Stop kicks are also very effective when it comes to fighting. Today we're going to be very general. We're going to go over some basics and stick around, and we'll give you a little bit of a enhanced way of throwing these whenever you're fighting or sparring. All right, so the first stop kick that I want to go over is just going to be your basic side kick. You'll see this in systems such as like JKD, and they tend to call it the Jeet tech, which is also the intercepting kick. So when I'm here, and for demonstration purposes, I'm going to do this with my right side forward. Keep in mind, you can do this both sides. It doesn't really matter. I would advise training both just so you don't have a bad side. But when I'm here, as soon as my partner starts coming in, I'm going to try to intercept that intention, and I want to make sure that I get this before she gets too close. And one of the things that's going to help me with that is, instead of going for this big chamber where I'm folding the leg up close to my body, I'm just going to keep this leg straight. It's going to kind of float the ground a little bit, and I'm going for about shin to knee level. It's important to make sure that you don't chamber, and the reason being is because if I chamber, I'm just wasting time. If I chamber this leg up and she's coming in, chances are she's going to jam me up. I might even get a little bit of an extension, but I'm going to be jammed up and I'm not going to be able to kind of keep her back, which is ultimately what I'm going for. So one more time, your hands can be down, your hands can be up if you're already engaged in the fight, but as she's coming in, my foot is just going to float the ground and I'm turning my hip. I want to make sure that I hit with a sideways foot, because if I try to hit with a straight foot, I'm taking a narrow weapon against a narrow target. And not that it's going to happen every time, but chances are I might miss this and then fall into a really bad position. Now, when am I going to use this particular stop kick? I can use this when somebody is moving in, which we've already demonstrated. I can also use this when I'm trying to move in and I'm trying to close that distance. So if I'm out here at this combat distance where I can't really touch her, she can't really touch me, if I'm going to bridge this gap in between us, I may lead with that stop kick and then use that as a way to shoot that momentum in. But it also kind of disrupts their balance, their base just a little bit. So they're thinking about this right here as I'm coming in with whatever I want to follow up with. So the next one that I want to go over is going to be the oblique kick. Now, you could use this in a variety of different ways. One of the ways that I like using it is coming off of intercepting her kick. So as she's kicking, generally I try to save this for more of the straight line attacks. So as this kick is coming in, that's where I'm throwing my oblique kick. And I'm throwing it with the back leg. There's a couple of things that I want you to notice here. Number one is my foot is floating the ground. It's staying really close to the ground. I don't want to do this really big, over-exaggerated chamber because, again, as in with the Jeet tech, if I do this big chamber, she's going to see this and it's going to give her something to work against. Instead, I want to keep it really close to the ground. I want to simplify my movements to where it's more direct and I'm able to pull it off. So when that kick is coming in, it's shooting straight into the leg. Now, again, the target area can be the knee. It could be the shin. It could even be a little bit more on top of the thigh, depending on how fast she's throwing this kick. But from here, I'm just going to float the ground and I'm coming straight out. I want to make sure that when I throw this, that it's not an empty technique, which means that I'm not just going to throw this kick and then come back and reset. She tried to kick me. We're already in the fight. So I want to use this as a bridge to be able to get in and execute whatever kind of counter that I want to do. Depending on what system that you train or what system that you're using for, this is your doorway to get in and do your work. Another key with this kick is I'm trying to keep the foot as sideways as I can. Now, because of the body contortion, it's not going to be straight perpendicular with her leg, but I do want to keep it to where it's a wide object going into a more narrow target, which means that I'm not doing a front kick per se, because again, if it's narrow and I'm going for a narrow target, chances are that I might miss. Whereas if it's perpendicular, I have a much bigger room for error. So from here, an example of going in would be once this kick comes in and I catch that, I may trap the hand and then use that to be able to work my way to the side. All right, so the next one that I want to talk about is just going to be your basic front kick. And I like using this whenever I'm trying to intercept or when I'm trying to stop more of your rounded type kicking attacks. Now, the round kick can come from the front leg or it can come from the back leg. We're going to demonstrate the back leg just so I can kind of walk and talk this with you. So as this back leg round kick is coming in, I'm just going to throw this front kick out. Now again, as in the theme of the other stop kicks, I'm not doing this big chamber, especially if I'm trying to key off on a round kick, because if somebody's going to round kick you, chances are there's going to be a little bit of velocity there. You're not going to have a whole lot of time to waste. If I do this big chamber and kaya, like the old Tae Kwon Do guys, I'm going to miss my opportunity and I'm going to get jammed up, and I want to alleviate that if at all possible. So from here, I'm going to do almost like a pendulum step. It's not going to be a full pendulum step. It's going to be a little bit more of a shuffle. And I'm using that to kind of launch this foot straight up. Again, there's not much or any chamber whatsoever. Now the targeting on this is I'm trying to target from the mid thigh to the hip. I like going for the hip because I know that if I nail that hip, I can stop every bit of forward motion that is coming with this kick. If I'm trying to aim for the thigh, there's that little room of I might miss my target, because again, it's a narrow weapon against a narrow target. I might miss and I might end up in a bad position. But if I kick that hip, it's a lot easier and it's a bigger target and I can make that connection. Also, if for some reason she moves just a little bit and I end up kicking the groin, I don't really lose a whole lot in that exchange. All right, so when I'm using this front kick as a stop kick, technically you can use the back leg, you can use the front leg. But one of the things that I learned in JKD specifically is that I'm going for economy of motion. I want to use the longest weapon to the nearest target, which means that if I use this front leg, the economy of motion is going to be there because I don't have to make this whole body movement to get this back leg engaged. All I have to do is just a little shuffle and it's there. It's a lot faster. Not to mention, I'm going off of my reaction time, which means that she's already initiated this kick. The kick is already well on its way to being thrown. I don't have a whole lot of time to waste. The more that I have to bring this into my target, the more time's going to go by, even if I kick really, really fast. So using this front leg as far as speed goes makes a lot more sense.
Okay, so what about kicking the posting leg?
Their posting leg?
Yeah, their posting leg. Like, what if I'm about to throw a kick, or I am throwing a kick? Do you ever stop kick on the posting leg for some reason?
So the answer to that is yes, you can. If she's going to throw this kick, I can kick to this posting leg, but this is one of those things where repetition, where experience, where mastery of timing kind of comes in. I'm keying off of that initial stimulus, right? Of you getting ready to kick me per se. Now, if my reaction time is absolutely phenomenal because I've trained this a whole lot, there is a good chance that as you're throwing that, I can kick that posting leg, and obviously all your weight's on that leg, so it's going to cause a lot of damage. Another way that you can do that is if for some reason my reaction time is really, really bad, maybe you caught me off guard or I wasn't paying attention, whatever the reason is, I can provide some kind of defense against this kick, whether it's a tie check or it could be a Wing Chun double arm block or something along those lines. Really defending the kick with whatever it is that you have trained previously and that you know works for you. As that kick's coming in, I could defend and then do that stop kick on that posted leg, and it would cause a whole lot of damage, and it fits within the confines of what I've already been training. So another thing that I want to train myself on is when I see this initial flinch response of her going to throw like a punch or something like that, if we're in that range and I'm here and I'm set up and I'm ready to go and I see her flinch for a punch, I'm going to start working on being able to key off on that. Now, obviously, when you're training this, you want to start off kind of slow so you can get the timing. But eventually you want to put it into like a sparring type scenario where you're actually moving around and they're trying to box you and all that cool stuff, and you're trying to throw the stop kicks off of that. All right, guys, so this is the part that I wanted you to stick around for. And the reason why is because it's pretty freaking awesome if you can pull it off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these stop kicks and I want to put them into more of a PTK type footwork drill. So from here, as she's moving in, I'm going to shoot off on that 45. and I'm going to take that front leg. From the other side, because we train both sides, she comes moving in, I'm stepping off on that 45, and I'm taking that front leg. When I do that, I want to make sure that I'm going towards the outside, I'm going towards the flank, and I want to make sure that I disrupt that base as quickly as possible. Now, I know that I said that you can go to the front leg, you can also go to the back leg. Really, I'm just trying to take whatever target that I can. From there, I want to start thinking about follow-up. So from here, I'm going to go off on that 45, I'm going to take that leg, and then I'm going to shoot in with that angle 2 forearm blade to the head. From the other side, I'm going to shoot off on that 45, I'm going to take that front leg. As I'm landing this down, I'm taking this straight to the head. Oh, but wait, what if her hands are up? I'm glad you asked. So from here, I'm going to take that 45, I'm going to take that leg, I'm going to take that same forearm blade, take it right to the front hand, and then I'm going to come through and I'm going to slap her right upside the head. On the other side, she comes in, 45, take that front leg, I'm taking that forearm blade straight to the front arm. Maybe I break through and get the head anyway. If I don't, I'm going to pull that arm down and I'm coming straight for that slap. But wait, I don't see that in MMA. You can't do that in a jiu-jitsu gym. That'll never work on the streets. You're absolutely right. You don't see it in the cage because it would probably get really boring if each fight only lasted about 3 seconds, which is what this kind of stuff is intended to do. And also keep in mind, in the frame of pekiti, I'm not getting in here and fighting in the cage and getting punch drunk because I've been hit in the head too many times because that's how I train. What I'm doing is I'm taking everything into consideration of the knife. So when I am disrupting that base, I'm coming in. I'm not coming in with the trying to box and all this kind of stuff. I'm stabbing them right in the face, and that's why we're different than you are. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that video on stop kicks. I hope you learned something. If you get the chance, hit that comment section. Tell me if you're able to pull these off in sparring. Tell me what kind of stop kicks are your favorite. You could even get on there and tell me that you don't think that they'll work in the cage because the Muay Thai God said that I can't throw them that way. I really don't care. But if you do want to have a good conversation, let me know if you're able to pull these off whenever you're training.